sun shines on your face, I have reflections of His amazing grace. And there is where I'd rather be when I think of what He's done for me. I see the blue waters and worship by the Caribbean Sea. I can hear your waves are rushing to and fro. Blue waters. Then I close my eyes 'cause only you would know. Sometimes the days can be so rough. We toil but never have enough. But like that solid rock I stand, held up by His mighty hand. He saves me from the torrents, calms us by the Caribbean Sea. Sea to sea, shore to shore, we will always love you more. Sea to sea, shore to shore. There's a friend of mine who walked on the shores of Galilee, telling all mankind of love and purity, and that one day He'll return again just for you and me. Until then I'll give you praises along the shores of the Caribbean Sea. Blue waters, and every time we meet I see the beauty in His eyes. Blue waters, He must have carefully put the dimples in your smile. Blue, 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 blue waters. Yes, I hear your waves are rushing.
The CBC News headlines, brought to you with the good wishes of Sagicor General. Wise financial thinking for life.
Thousands of Barbadians swamped a Sandals job fair today looking for employment. Transport Board probing reports of speeding drivers. And in sports, the first one-day match set to go despite unrest in the West Indies camp over salary cuts.
The CBC News headlines, brought to you with the good wishes of Sagicor General. Wise financial thinking for life.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom.
An estimated 3,500 people lined up for an opportunity to work with Sandals Barbados today. This as the all-inclusive resort got its job recruitment exercise underway for new employees. With 3 days still left for interviews, the response was overwhelming. Ryan Broom has the story.
To use a Bajan phrase, it was like federation at the Lawyers Sanford Center this morning, as thousands, literally thousands of Barbadians came out in search of jobs with Sandals Barbados.
600 jobs are up for grabs, and the crowd of eager job seekers started to gather from as early as 5:30. By 9 o'clock, the lines extended into the car park next to Lara Court. Young women made up the majority of people in the lines.
I'm just here to, you know, my luck. That is it. I have a 1-year-old son, and I'm just looking for employment.
We're here today because enough people are unemployed and we're really looking for work to do. And some people here are working already, and they should give other people that don't have work a little chance to get through, to get a little something to do.
I am here to get a job, hope that I get a job. And if these people behaving so disgracefully, it's very embarrassing, and I feel very hurt. That's why we can't get on the inside right now. So I hope that Bajans will learn that when you get these sort of opportunities, that they will behave.
I came up here today to fill out a form to work, and as you can see, the door is locked because people are behaving very bad, and it's really not appropriate because it's making bad for other people that waiting to get work as well.
Unfortunately, the day was not without incident, as some people pushed and shoved to get closer to the entrance. 2 young women fainted after getting overwhelmed. Additionally, a skirmish occurred about 12:30, prompting police to get involved, and a young woman was taken away. It was around 1 o'clock when Sandals Barbados management and management of the center made a joint decision to cease the interview process for the day. General Manager of Sandals Barbados, Joseph Zellner, says he has seen large crowds turn out for similar job exercises in Jamaica and Turks and Caicos, and the turnout in Barbados was also large. He says they will have a more secure structure in place to process applicants on day 2.
Thank you to everybody who showed up to our job fair today, where we interviewing the rooms division areas. It was really almost overwhelming for us to see the great interest in the Bajan people to want to have a job with Sandals Resort, and it was really it was great. Unfortunately, now we are at the timing, we probably gonna see close to 1,000.
He says the interviews for food and beverage departments will also continue as planned.
We're gonna put up probably out there a little more organization to it when the people come for the interviews. We're starting again tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and we're gonna make sure that people, when they come, that there's not that crowd. But despite the few small incidents today, I really must commend the applicants, how they have waited patiently for us to interview them.
Those who were able to go through the interview process are hopeful that they will be selected.
In terms of the interview process, I think it was very interesting because coming to an interview to work in the hotel, it was a bit of a different experience for me, as I've been to interviews in other public and private sectors, and it was not quite the same. Sandals actually mean they're looking for exceptional members. So based on that, you can see it through their procedure in which they interview.
The interviews are not bad. The test is not too hard. It just is a common sense thing. Just got to use your brain, speak proper English, and you may get through.
I was here from 7 o'clock. Well, the interview went good, everything went good. I just hoping to get through. I applied for the housekeeping, and you know, everything went good. That's the truth.
So with the experience of day 1 now behind them, Sandals Barbados officials will be looking ahead to day 2 with new structures in place to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Ryan, thanks. Meanwhile, Acting Minister of Tourism Irene Sandiford Garner lauded Sandals for the job opportunities being provided.
I am shocked at the type of crowd that we have, but I am pleasantly surprised. It tells me that there is still a large body of Barbadians who are very much interested in working in the industry. I know that a number of the people here are also qualified because I would have seen a few before. I know a few faces, and I know a number of them are probably persons who would have worked elsewhere in the industry. So you can see that they're qualified Barbadians who would have been waiting for this opportunity.
She says the overwhelming response also shows a need to look at other areas of employment.
We need to now examine how we view employment, because all of these people will never be employed in one chain. And I think that we as Barbadians need to sit down and seriously think about the fact that self-employment definitely will have to be the avenue that many of us will have to take. So I don't know that it says anything negative about the employment situation here. It just speaks to the reality of the global situation.
Hundreds of Barbadians have started to receive their October pensions and other benefits via bank lodgements from the National Insurance Department. And it's also almost certain now that the checks that were due to be paid yesterday will be in the hands of pensioners by Friday. Peter Thorne has the story.
This information from NAS officials who have confirmed that the lodgements that were due yesterday, October 6th, were sent to the bank accounts of pensioners. Over 7,300 Barbadians receive lodgements at the banks and are paid their full 4 weeks of money monthly. This contrasts with those receiving checks who are paid twice monthly. The NAS says it received the backup power supply for its servers last week from the United States and managed to install the equipment by midday on Friday. A breakdown of that equipment recently prompted the NAS to take to the airwaves to warn Barbadians that they were possibly facing a delay of up to 3 weeks for their pensions. CBC understands that over the weekend, several production runs were done and they were all successful, leading to the resumption of the printing of checks. Those checks, as promised by NAS Director Ian Carrington, are expected to be in the hands of Barbadians by Friday, ensuring a mere delay of days and not weeks as expected because of the hardware issue. The NAS services between 40 to 42,000 pensioners on a monthly basis. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
An admission from the Transport Board tonight that it is probing a number of reports about its buses allegedly caught speeding. And now the board is aiming to crack down on a practice that could be compromising the safety of passengers and other road users. Shane Seeley develops this story.
Reports of bus drivers stepping on the road late at night and early in the morning have reached the ears of Transport Board management. They're listening and they're currently conducting investigations into a number of these allegations. So says the Communications and Marketing Manager with the board, Linda Holder.
Buses allegedly speeding has been reported to us, and whenever that happens, we do investigate it. It will always engage our attention. As we would have discussed earlier, safety is paramount for us. Our motto speaks to that. You are in safe hands with us, and anytime something of that nature comes up, we would immediately seek to investigate what is happening. Alleged speeding, but the appearance between a bus traveling on the road and some mark always a little screwed because of the size of the bus and things of that nature.
Now, Ms. Holder did not reveal if any drivers were officially charged or convicted, but says the board has adopted a zero-tolerance approach to this practice.
Anything that would have been investigated and verified and led to anything that would break the laws of Barbados is immediately transferred to the Royal Barbados Police Force. But anything that we are not positive was breaking the laws of Barbados, we will investigate internally. But once it has been brought to our attention and it can be proven that a person is breaking the laws of Barbados, we will hand that over immediately to the Royal Barbados Police Force.
The Transport Board officials spoke to CBC News after addressing a news conference with officials from the Barbados Workers Union and the Barbados Port Incorporated, recognizing October 7th as World Day of Decent Work. There, she also revealed that the board is working with the union to address issues of bus driver fatigue.
And a fatigued bus driver can lead to a mass casualty through simply dozing off. There is something called a micro-sleep that the scientists say occurs when you drift in and out of sleep without even realizing it. And these naps are usually fatal and are the main cause of fatigue-related crashes when a driver runs off the road. These are usually very serious because the driver doesn't brake. He's asleep for that short time.
And Ms. Holder is encouraging Barbadians to continue sending in those reports, those concerns about the activities of their buses on the road, so that the Transport Board can ensure a safe ride for all passengers. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Thanks, Shane, and we'll have more news ahead in just a moment. But first, we want to hear from you on the question: do you think that Transport Board drivers caught speeding should be treated by the courts the same way as PSV drivers? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of the news.
Today, Sebastian Daniels is teaching his daughter to drive. He's a little nervous, but he shouldn't be. Because no matter what happens, his auto insurance from Sagicor General has them covered. And besides, it turns out she's a natural. Nice job. Sagicor General, wise financial thinking for life.
Community Files.
And a reminder, the Barbados Postal Service has resumed its express mail service deliveries to Trinidad and Tobago.
Issues at the Grisette's primary school are expected to be resolved in a 3-week period. This is according to Acting Minister of Education, Harry Husbands. He says both the Ministries of Health and Education are working to fix the problem.
The staff from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health are putting everything in place, mainly airing the building as much as possible. They are going to install necessary fans and so on to clear out some of the odors from some of the corners and in the basement and so on and so forth. But I think it's just mainly a process of airing the building and getting it ready in various other ways for school to resume.
The acting minister also expressed gratitude to both the Ebenezer and Breath of Life Seventh-day Adventist churches for assisting the primary school.
Certainly, I think we want to place on record of the Ministry of Education our sincere thanks and gratitude to the leaders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, both churches. At very short notice, they agreed and facilitated the Ministry of Education and the school in every way possible. And we just want to say publicly how extremely thankful we are that they, without much thought, accommodated us in difficult circumstances.
Ambassador to CARICOM, Robert Bobby Morris, says though Barbados has its own struggles, the government has moved to create homegrown solutions. Unlike some of its neighbors, he says the island did not resort to the International Monetary Fund. He says CARICOM members are in a weak economic state.
And that is nothing that we should be unwilling to admit. It's very important. You read in today's paper, and the new Prime Minister of Antigua is criticizing the former government for having gone into an IMF program, leaving him now with a debt of over $350 million that he has to repay. And he's talking about how high his deficit is going to be.
Well, when JetBlue Flight 661 touched down at the Grantley Adams International Airport today, it had on board one special person. Captain Othniel Kelman, a Barbadian by descent, piloted his first flight into the island, and for him, it was a dream come true.
This wasn't just a touchdown, this was coming home.
That's how Barbadian JetBlue captain Othniel Kelman described his first flight into Barbados. In fact, the 37-year-old pilot says it was a dream come true.
The dream is flying the segment JFK to BGI, which is the segment where I made the decision I would become a pilot at a very young age, about 4. Mom says 3, but I say 4.
He's been flying for 19 years, the last 8 with JetBlue. And while he worked hard to reach his goal, Captain Kelman admits there were some times it felt as though it would not come true.
In the last 30-some-odd years since I made the decision to become a pilot, there have been a lot of tumultuous times in the aviation industry, and there were many times where I thought this may not work out. And to be able to get here, one of the sweetest parts of it is that, when I joined JetBlue, it didn't seem that I was going to be able to come to Barbados because JetBlue didn't come to Barbados. And then for JetBlue, the airline that I work for, to become the main carrier doing the JFK to BGI route, I mean, that is God's fortune.
So to pilot a plane into the Grantley Adams International Airport, accompanied by his wife Lisette, with his parents watching, was the ultimate in pride and satisfaction. Captain Kelman's parents, Othniel Sr. and Margaret of Horse Hill, St. Joseph, said becoming a pilot was inevitable.
Most little boys in those days who would play with cars and trains, not my son. He played with planes and helicopters and all type of things that was going to be airborne.
So when he told you I want to be a pilot, Dad, you weren't surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. There was no surprise about that at all. It was only a matter of time.
Othniel Sr. said if it were his choice, his son would have been a civil engineer. But today was all worth it.
Right now I'm on air. I'm elated, to see my son. I mean, this is a plane I always travel on through him. And now to see my son bringing it in and going to take me back out tomorrow.
Oh, you're going out tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. That's a dream come true.
For Margaret, she was more concerned about him finding a job.
I was thinking if he has a family, he has to feed his family, and I gave him a lot of trouble. And one day he came into my room, I work nights, and he came into my room and he laid across my legs, and he said to me, Mom, if anybody die doing what they love to do, it's a good death. And he said to me, I didn't ask a question, he said to me, I'm going to fly even if I bungee jump. I never questioned him after that.
And with the danger of flying, including the recent disappearance of at least 2 planes, Captain Kelman was introspective.
We all know that that's a possibility. And not just in flying. We know that things happen that we have no control over. And I know we would all like to have more control. But one of the great things about being in this career is that I've learned I can't harp on those kind of things.
And as he prepares for the outbound flight tomorrow with his parents on board, Captain Kelman says it has been his best memory to date.
We'll have regional news next, but first a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question. Do you think that Transport Board drivers caught speeding should be treated by the courts the same way as PSV drivers? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of the news. And remember, you can also